Welcome to the Invest for More Real Estate Podcast. My name is Mark Ferguson, and I am your host. I'm a house flipper. I flip 10 to 15 houses a year. I own 13 rental properties with a goal to buy 100 by 2023. I'm also a real estate agent. I've been licensed since '01. I run a team of 9. We sell close to 200 houses a year. So on this show, we like to interview house flippers, landlords, and the best real estate agents in the business. So stay tuned for some great shows. If you want more information on my rentals, on the numbers, how I buy properties, check out investformore.com. Hey everyone, it's Mark Ferguson with Invest for More. Welcome to another episode of the Invest for More Real Estate Podcast. Today, I'm excited to talk to Corey Paszkiewicz, which I have no idea how close I came to pronouncing his name right, but I tried. He is an investor in Milwaukee. He's got 6 rentals, 4 duplexes, a couple single-family homes. He bought some of those actually before the housing crash. So we're going to talk about that, how that has been for him and what struggles he's had on there. And he's also looking to buy more houses, possibly fix and flip some homes. And I know he's been thinking about it, getting his real estate license as well. Corey was an electrician, went to network marketing, nutritional business, and even has his own CrossFit gym. So he's really got his hands full, and I know he has a newborn as well. So Corey, thank you so much for being on the show. I appreciate you hopping on with us for a few minutes.
Yeah, thank you, Mark. Definitely. Thank you for having me as well.
Yeah, no, glad to have you on. I like talking to, obviously different investors across the country, and I've seen you on Facebook a lot, your posts, the incredible transformations you've had with some people. So I caught my eye when you said you wanted to be on the podcast for sure. But Starting out, you were an electrician and, went into a different career. But when did you first start getting interested in real estate?
Yeah, no, definitely. And I guess it kind of goes back, when I was younger, a little bit before I even got into it. I just saw how hard my parents worked, and they struggled a lot as I was growing up. And, I just knew there's something else out there, and I knew I didn't want to have that when I had my family. And I think I just kind of stumbled across real estate like a lot of people where, watching those TV shows, you see infomercials and all that. And I don't know how old I was, maybe like 18 years old at the time. And I ended up buying a book, read it, kind of talked about all different sorts of investing, flipping, buy and hold, you name it. I never really did anything with that until it's probably a few years later. Like you said, I was working as an electrician. I had a friend that I went through my apprenticeship with, his uncle at the time. He was talking about how he used to have rental properties and some condos and things like that. And so I didn't really know a whole lot going into it. And I ended up basically buying my first duplex, like you said, right before the housing market crashed. So the property values are actually on their way up. So I kind of bought it a little bit higher than what I would buy something now. And then eventually, like I said, it crashed and all that. And that was kind of my first intro into real estate. And I kind of house hacked that one. So I bought it and I moved in one half of it. The tenants paid more than half my mortgage and lived there for quite a while. And yeah, it's really, I guess, kind of how I got my foot in the door, I guess you could say.
No, that's very cool. And there's a lot of people who've kind of house hacked before that became a term, which is, obviously, having roommates pay for your house while you live in it in a multi-unit property. So even though you bought it at the top of the market or close to it, you're still living there. So it's not like you weren't getting an advantage. You had a place to live. And do you still own that property now?
I do. So, yeah, I do. Actually, one of my brothers lives in there now, too. And, yeah, I've had that one for over 10 years now. So
I know you said it's getting close to being above water now, or is it above water now?
Yeah, so actually that was a funny one. So initially, like I was just starting out as a first-year apprentice, going through my electrical apprenticeship. So I didn't have a big down payment. I had a friend borrow me a little bit for the down payment, and I also did a WIDA loan. And I don't know if you're familiar with the WIDA type of loans, but basically the government, they gave me a $5,000 grant to live in the house and put down for the down payment. And I thought you had to live there only for 5 years and then you can move out and sell it and all that kind of stuff. So I actually moved out of it before, and then I got a letter saying I had to move it back into it and all that stuff. Otherwise they would foreclose, or I'd have to refinance or pay this loan back or the grant back. But I guess basically to make a long story short on that, a couple things. Actually, I had my like I said, I had my brother move in there, and I put everything in his name, so I kind of got by with everything for a while, with not living in the property, and then eventually I got like another letter in the bank and all that, so I had to refinance the house to get it above water. So I had to put like another like $18,000 down on it to refinance, so it would actually appraise right. So doing that, I do cash flow probably $300-400 a month now on that property, but before that it was definitely wasn't there. I was just breaking even, if not losing a little.
Okay. And I have never heard of that loan before, the WIDA. So that's something new to me.
I believe it might be like Wisconsin housing,
Okay.
something like that. So it's basically like a first-time homebuyer grant for people in Wisconsin. And basically, I guess how it works, they give you $5,000, or at the time that's how it worked. I don't know what the requirements are now. But basically, every year you live there for 5 years, that grant goes away. So your first year, they take $1,000 away, and after that 5-year term, it's forgivable. You don't owe anything. But like I said, I thought you have to stay there 5 years, and then it was done. You can move out, but you have to own the property or live in there the term of the loan. So that's why I had to kind of got stuck in that bind, had to refinance and put more money down on it to get it above water. But now it works out. It's running out and cash flowing a little bit, so can't complain there now.
Nice. I kind of like hearing that you bought a property before the housing crash. It didn't bankrupt you. You didn't, go under, obviously. I'm sure it wasn't easy seeing your value drop, but at the same time, you held on to it, and it's not a bad investment at this point, it doesn't sound like.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's not my best investment, but, I'm not losing money, and, I'm getting a little bit of cash flow in, and I could probably get a little bit more. One of my brothers lives in there, so the rent's a little bit lower on that one. I charge him like $600 where I could get $675, $700 for rent, but, it works out, and pay my mortgage and then some, and yeah, I guess I look at it for a lot of my buy and holds, I guess, more for like the long haul, and cash flow for the longer period of time versus like a quick buy and hold or flip like that.
Right. Nope, that makes sense. And then, so you bought that property. That was your first one. How long did it take you to buy your other ones? I know you're up to 6 now. Did you buy one soon, or did you kind of live in that one for a while and wait a while before you bought another one?
Yeah. So my plan was to kind of wait a while, and it ended up being just over a year after that I found another one. It's right down the block. So 4 of my properties are all within 3-4 minutes from each other. So I found this property in the foreclosure as well, and I bought that no money down. So back then, like, the banks would give money away like crazy. So I put no money down, and we did like an 80-20 loan, so 2 loans on it. And then I moved into that property and moved out of the other one. So that's kind of how I bought that. And then I kind of hung out there for a little while, for about another year actually. And this is kind of a funny story. It's probably about a year and a half. Then I bought a commercial building, so I took a home equity loan out on the other property, bought a commercial building, and while I was working full-time as an electrician, this commercial building had a little restaurant in it, and I made basically like a cheesesteak custard type of stand restaurant. I ran that and lived in the back of the 3-bedroom apartment. So that was kind of all within like a 3-year time period or so is what I did with those.
Wow. I haven't heard that one before.
Yeah. So like I was telling you, a little interesting. I did that. That one I thought I got a really good deal on it at the time, and then I ended up selling it for a loss a few years later on that restaurant property. I still do have that other duplex. So that other duplex, that one actually, it cash flows pretty good. It's a 3-bedroom upper and 3-bedroom lower, so the rents are pretty solid, and I still bought it a little higher, but it's a good market there. And like I said, the rents are higher, so that one does well. I did sell that restaurant, a few years after I had that, and I probably didn't buy a property for a few years.
I'm curious, what were the numbers on that second duplex? Do you remember what you bought it for and what it rents for?
So I bought it for $154,000. Like I said, I guess now, like, I probably wouldn't spend that much on a duplex in the area, but I get over $700. So the tenants I have in there now, they're long-term tenants. So again, I could probably get one of my other 3-bedroom units I'm getting over $800 for, but I get $707.25, and they do all their yard maintenance and all that, so I kind of gave them a discount, and there's also, like I said, longer tenants. I mean, one of them has been there probably 5 years. So, I mean, that's good, solid property there.
Nice. Yeah, I don't know. It's not bad considering you bought it, a few years ago, and you weren't exactly as in tune with real estate investing at that time. It sounds like so not too bad. So you took a few years off. Was that when you kind of changed careers and were transitioning to out of being an electrician?
Yeah. So, I mean, basically, right before the economy crashed, I don't know. I want to say maybe 2008, 2009, somewhere, or maybe 2009, 2010, I believe, right around there. It's kind of when I was looking at more of a career change and kind of found network marketing, got involved with a health and wellness company there and got phenomenal results on products. But at the same time, I knew I needed to do something else because our union hall over here in Wisconsin, I mean, they were telling electricians to look for different jobs and different careers because they had over 300 electricians laid off at the time. And I basically saw a good buddy of mine grow his income up to crazy numbers, over $30,000 a month in a short period of time. And I'm like, okay, if I can just do a little bit of that to make my car payment, that's really all I was looking for. And I just started helping people I was working with and basically started within 6 months, had my income up to pay my mortgage and my car payments. A year later, after I replaced my electrical income with the company, I just kind of hung out there, decided to open up a CrossFit gym. Did that because fitness has always been a real passion of mine. I love helping other people get great results from products and fitness and nutrition. So I look at everything as a whole that way. And really, I mean, it's an awesome feeling when you can help change somebody's life that way. And that's kind of how I got more back into fitness. And during that period, too, I actually went through a divorce. So that's part of the reason why I got put on hold, I guess, or my real estate kind of got put on hold. I was switching careers, went through a divorce, had all this stuff happen to me. I ended up actually moving back home with my parents for a couple months until I found like another property to buy and live in. And at that time, the lending is a lot tighter and stricter requirements. And basically, when you're self-employed, so I had my CrossFit gym income and I had my network marketing income, where financially the numbers look good. Like I made enough to buy a property, but tax-wise, you need at least 2 years of income being self-employed. So my credit to debt ratio with the banks were off a little bit because I didn't have that full 2 years of income. So my next duplex coming in there, I bought the duplex, but I had to finance it kind of in my other brother's name. And so I basically put the 20% down on the house, and I moved in there and basically rented out the other half and lived there for a little over a year. Is kind of how I got my next property and got back into that one.
Nice. Yeah, quite a transition you went through there.
Yeah, it was kind of a lot in a short period of time. Within like a year or two, it just feels like everything changed in an instant and all that.
Yeah, and I can say, I'm friends with you on Facebook. I've seen a lot of your posts for a while, and Corey is in awesome shape. Like, he's one of those guys who seem like, oh man, that would never be me. But some of the transformations I've seen on people you've helped with weight loss and stuff is just amazing. So I definitely would recommend you if anybody's looking for help on that side. So
no, I appreciate that.
And then, so this next duplex you bought, I imagine that was kind of after the crash. Did you get that a lot cheaper than the previous ones?
Yeah, I got that one. It was just under $100,000 is what I paid for it, I believe. So I guess I know a lot of people in the area buy them a lot cheaper, but it was actually in really pretty decent shape. I didn't need to do much maintenance on it. Had all newer windows and siding, new roof. Really, the only thing I did is put some new carpet and hardwood flooring in the kitchen, and it was good to go. So, and part of it, I needed a place to live again, too. So I wanted to get out of my parents' house, and that's kind of what I did. So I did that, moved into the bottom half, and rented out the top half to a good buddy of mine, one of my best friends, and him and his fiance are still there today. And my other brother that helped me with the financing, him and his girlfriend live in the bottom half now. And it's been pretty solid. I had that, say maybe 3-4 years now, 3 years.
Nice. And what's that one rent for? I know you've got family and friends in there, but
yeah. So $600 on both, upper and lower for that. So typically like they're 2-bedroom upper, 2-bedroom lower. Typically in our area, in that area that I have them in, like a 2-bedroom would ideally rent for $650 to $700, not even more, $750, depending on the area there. So yeah, a little bit lower on the rent, but they're great tenants, and I'd rather have a good tenant with a little bit lower rent than have a trouble tenant and have to worry about it. So
I agree. Yes.
yep.
Nice. Cool. And then so you've got your duplexes and you have some single family homes too. Were those houses that you moved into or were those just rentals you bought as single families?
Yeah, so those two, so the last year, I really started aggressively getting back more into real estate, I guess. So one of our friends these two properties came on the market. They're actually right next to each other. And I guess those two are what we consider a north side or like a lower class type of tenant. And I'm really hesitant to buy some properties in that area. But I also know a buddy that's got quite a few properties, probably close to 50 properties all around that area. And he'd never had issues and all that. So I was just talking to him, and I jumped on these two and bought them both cash. One of them had a tenant in it already. The other one was vacant, but it was all rehabbed and ready to go. And I bought those last October. So October 15th is when I closed on them last year.
Nice. And
yeah.
What do you think of the single family versus the duplex? Which ones do you prefer?
So I guess it could go either way. I mean, I actually cash flow a lot of those, partially because I got a steal on them. They're small. They're small 2-bedroom, about 700 square foot property, but they both have a garage, fenced in yards. So it's a nice property. And actually the block we're in, it's actually a really nice, quiet block. And across the freeway, it's actually a really nice area. So it's just the tenants that they're not in high quality, I guess. But I guess I kind of lucked out too. So, and actually I got a funny story on one of them. So the two properties I bought, one of them was vacant, one of them had a tenant. And the tenant that was there, he was there for probably about 3-4 years prior. So he had a solid rental history. He gets arrested and thrown in jail for a little while. I can't get a hold of the guy. I'm like, what do I do? I've never had this happen. And it's probably about a half an hour from my house, these two properties. And his niece ended up calling me and kind of explaining the whole situation, and they ended up moving him out and cleaned up the property. And so it actually worked out good. But for a while there, I mean, it was a couple of weeks, I couldn't get a hold of the guy, called him, I'd show up there, nobody would be there. I'm like, what do I do? And then I finally got a hold of his niece. And in the long run, it all rented out. It's rented out now, and things are good. But it's kind of a funny story, and I didn't know how to handle it if I didn't get a hold of her. So it's kind of weird.
I imagine it could have ended a lot worse
yeah.
with him. And what did he get arrested for? Do you know?
They didn't say, but I mean, I looked up his record. I guess the charges got dropped and all that. I think it was some domestic violence or something.
Oh, okay.
But he didn't say, they didn't say. I guess the charges got dropped and all that. So, I mean, I don't know what happened with there. And I actually haven't even talked to him. I just kind of communicated with his niece, and, they cleaned everything out. And I still had to go in there, repaint and clean it up a little bit better and haul out some other junk. But for the most part, I lucked out on it. It worked out perfect where they moved out fine. They didn't have to evict anybody, and it was as smooth as you could wish for.
Nice. Yeah. And that's one thing as landlords, when you mention him getting arrested, we have to watch out for is drugs and meth and different things that can contaminate houses. It's one thing it's really hard to protect yourself against. So I'm glad I'm not glad that's what he got arrested for, but for your sake, it wasn't, drugs or something like that he's arrested for.
Well, no, I didn't say, I guess in a nutshell, to answer those, I mean, I like having them. They're a lot more work, but they cash flow more for me. So, I mean, I guess it's a horse apiece, depending on what you want to do with them. I got them for a steal. So, I mean, I'm hoping, when I do sell them, I can make at least 10 to 20 grand in each of them. And eventually I'll just roll that over into some other investment type of property is kind of the longer term goal. But as long as they're cash flowing and things are going well, I just plan on holding on to those two.
Nice. And it's a great transition too. You've got your 6 properties now. What are you trying to do right now? Are you trying to buy more duplexes, more single families? I know you mentioned flipping. What's kind of your mindset right now as far as investing?
Yeah, I mean, I guess as we're doing well with our network marketing, I'm looking at, basically creating more residual income, so I feel like the best way to do that's, buying more real estate. So I do have one other duplex that I have. That one cash flows a lot too. And I got a steal on that one. I got that one for $65,000, and that rents for $825 and $725.
Oh, nice.
So that one, I'm doing really well on that. Probably only put about less than $5,000 rehab into it. So it didn't need much work, just a little bit of paint, and had to do the backyard. They actually had a pool in the backyard, but I bought it in winter, beginning of this year. So there's snow all on the ground, so I didn't see any of that. And they just finished landscaping the backyard. But so I have that one. Like I had mentioned to you, I did have another offer on another duplex, so that kind of fell through, but it's still on the market. So depending on how long it's there, I might come back and try to revisit that. But I've also looked at, possibly buying more of a bigger unit, bigger apartment complexes. Obviously, the bigger you go with that, you need more capital and more down payment. So that's kind of why I'm looking at possibly even flipping a property or two to build up some more equity and have that for a down payment. But also, if I come across a good deal on a duplex, I'm probably going to try to jump on that right away as well.
Nice. Do you have a number in mind for how many properties you want, or is it more of just kind of an income figure, or are you just taking them as they come?
A little bit of both. So beginning of the year, I kind of set a goal I wanted to have about like 25 units for this next year or so. I'm at like 10, so I'm about almost halfway there. So I'd like to buy maybe one or two other properties this year, depending on how things work out. So it's kind of a goal to get there to that 25 units, which I would like to get to that this year, depending on what happens. I don't think it'll happen quite this year, but it's kind of my first initial goal there. And, just if I can buy a couple properties a year or buy a bigger apartment complex, it's kind of where and what I'm looking to do down the road here.
Nice. And then you mentioned the flipping too. Have you looked at any flips or gone through that process at all? Or is it just kind of a, future goal at some point you want to do that?
It's a little bit of both. So, I've done a little bit of research, and there's actually a property like right across the street from our house. Actually, two of them across the street. One, somebody got it before I could even jump on it, and the other one, it was probably too big of a rehab for me to look at doing initially. So I looked at a little bit of it, and then for me, I guess the bigger part is finding the deal. On the rehab, I do have some guys and some contractors that can do a lot of work for me fairly reasonable. So I have some of that in place now, just through acquiring a lot of the properties and meeting people and networking groups and things like that. So I'm kind of building that team of people to have. So when I do find that property or something that comes across, I can jump on that. But I'm not super actively looking at the rehab or fix and flipping. But it is something kind of more in the back burner, I should say.
Okay. No, it makes sense. And I was going to ask you too, if you've done a lot of the work yourself on these properties or if you have used contractors. Because I know you've got obviously an electrician background, so you have some experience with that.
Yeah. So I guess I feel like being an electrician, you learn how to do like every other trade too along the way. So initially I used to do a lot of the work myself. Like I'd refinish hardwood floors. I'd do a little bit of electrical and, painting and little minor fix up stuff. So I did a lot of that myself, but now like as you get more properties and having a little newborn and, starting a family and all sorts of things and go on with everything else going on, it's kind of hard to be everywhere all at once. So I'm starting to outsource more of that so it can free up more of my time. And our longer goal is to get, my wife's home now. She's a stay-at-home mom. Like our goal is to get both of us home that, we don't need to have to ever really worry about any income coming in. So it's kind of where we want to build our real estate portfolio that way is kind of that safety net, that plan B where, no matter what happens, we don't have to worry about anything. It's kind of our bigger picture of things.
Nice. And yeah, I think it's a smart move not doing all the work yourself. Just your time's so much more valuable doing other stuff. So that's a good move, I think. Awesome. So I'm curious too, when you're finding these deals, are you doing a lot of the legwork yourself? Are you searching or are you depending on agents? How are you finding these properties?
A little bit of both. So I have a couple of friends that are realtors. So sometimes they'll send me some and they'll set it up on auto. Like whenever it hits the MLS, I'll get a few. I always look on them. The two that are looking at possibly rehabbing, they're like literally within a block of my house. So one was, the whole like driving for dollars type of thing that people always mention where, you look for the house that looks kind of run down or the grass is overgrown and look at that. So there's a house that's like kitty corner from us and we live in a pretty decent area. And I call my buddy, I'm like, we should look at this house. And it already had like 3 or 4 offers on it. Like as soon as it like hit the market. And so that one was kind of like that, how I found that one. The other one was on MLS. For the most part, they're all on MLS. And I guess I look for them that, I mean, they might be on the market for a little bit of while and might need a little bit of work. The two single families I bought, like literally as soon as they hit the market, one of our real estate friends, realtor friends, he sent me a message and said, hey, we should go look at this. So literally we looked at it within probably an hour or two of it hitting MLS, and I put an offer in right away, and we had there's a couple other offers that came in right after us, but we just lucked out and beat everybody else to it. So it's a little bit of everything, and my wife yells at me sometimes. I get a little obsessive where if I'm eating, I'm always looking on, I don't have the MLS access, but, on different realtor sites and housing sites, and I'm looking at properties and all sorts of stuff. So sometimes I get carried away with that in my free time, but yeah, it's a little bit of everything.
Yeah, no, my wife says I have a problem with buying houses, so I understand.
That's exactly what she said to me. She's like, I don't want this to become a problem where you get one and you have to have another and another. I'm like, well, get us where we need to be,
Just tell her how much fun it is. It's okay.
Yeah.
No, that's great. And then for the properties you're buying now, are you able to finance those now that you've gotten your kind of business established and everything going? Or how are you financing those properties?
So I got a good relationship with one of the banks here. The last duplex I bought, 'cause a lot of times, as you start acquiring them, it's harder to get financing. So I do a couple commercial loans. So pretty much as long as the property will appraise at purchase price value and I have 20% down, they'll finance me. We'll do a commercial loan that way. So I'm kind of lucking out that way. Kind of what I've been doing lately. I guess same thing with, if we find a different apartment or something like that, they'll do a loan, for us on apartment complex. I might have a few other people if we find a decent one. So that one I might even partner up with one or two guys to buy a bigger apartment complex. We have looked at, a 20 unit before and some other multifamilies. So again, it would be myself and somebody else coming up with that down payment to purchase that. The two single families we bought cash. So those ones, I mean, we don't, no loan or anything on that, but yeah, we've kind of built that relationship with the bank, and it's setting up some commercial loans here and out for a lot of the smaller duplexes, or if we decide and find a multifamily, it's kind of what we're looking to do that way too.
Nice. What kind of terms? Do they do 30-year amortization or 25? I know those smaller banks are all over the place in what they offer.
Yeah. So the last one I did a 5-year arm on the duplex, amortized over, I believe it was 25 years, 25 or 30, but I think it was 25.
Okay. Pretty common.
And that's so that's kind of what we did that way. And we'll see. My goal is to maybe even try to have that one paid off. I've kind of been debating, do I pay that off before that, or do I just keep saving money and dump it into more real estate? So I've kind of been up and down with that. So we'll see.
Yeah, I went through the same conundrum because I paid off my first rental. And then after that, I'm just kind of like, well, I'd probably be better off if I just bought as many properties as I could instead of paying off some, just because rates are so low right now. My strategy right now is just to keep buying. Well, if I could buy in Colorado, but and not pay anything off at the moment. But that could always change.
Yep. No, I gotcha.
Cool. And then we talked briefly about your thinking about getting a real estate license. So what's your thinking on that side of the business?
I don't know. I guess I've always been, involved, or real estate always interested me. So I feel like it would be kind of cool just to have that, and especially if you're buying properties and acquiring more deals. I think it'd be cool where I could do that and earn a little bit of extra income on the side that way. It was something I always thought about doing, even like as an electrician and all that. When the economy kind of was crashing, I thought about doing something like that, and never really jumped on it. But now that things have changed, and just kind of something I keep thinking about. I got your last few books, and the one on how to have like a successful real estate career and really kick that off, and so that even interests me even more now, I should say, after reading them about 3/4 of the way through with that book. So yeah, I mean, it's just something there that I'm thinking about doing, whether I get my license and fully use it, for me, or look at doing it on the side. I mean, who knows?
Yeah, I mean, I would say, because there's a lot of investors who are interested in getting their license And I think for you, it sounds like it'd be a really good fit just because you've got a really flexible schedule. You're buying quite a few properties and you're getting most of them from MLS now. So if you did get it, you'd have the advantage of saving a commission, or at least part of a commission. And then also just, the biggest advantage for me is finding deals. It's so much easier for me to find deals as an agent than if I wasn't. And it sounds like you've got some good agents working for you, but that might even be a bigger advantage if you were an agent.
Yep. Yeah, I think that's the hardest thing, for me is finding some of the deals. So, but no, that's kind of where I'm at with that. And, I keep leading more and more to it and, just working on things day by day here,
Right. Yep. And one of the really nice things about being an agent too is, you can see kind of the agents or the realtors' websites or Zillow. Those sites are almost never updated as quickly as MLS. And then, you can look at hot sheets on MLS where I can search any new listings that pop up from the last time I searched, which is really awesome and a huge advantage. Yeah. So that's really where I get a lot. I see price changes. I see, just so much stuff I can see that the general public can't see.
Yep. No, that's why I'm considering it. I'm just got to pull the trigger and do that. And we take a look at that,
Yep. Nope. Exactly. Cool. Well, we talked about the flips. Thinking about the flips, the rentals, getting a license, your business. You talk about your long-term goal to have both of you to be able to be at home without really working. Do you have any, goals for a couple of years out on, say I want to flip this many houses or have this many units 5 years out? Do you have anything like that set up?
I definitely want to have a goal. I'd like to flip a property this year, kind of a shorter term goal. I don't know necessarily how many I want to flip wise, but I guess I'll kind of play that by ear after we do our first one. But as far as properties, the way things are going, I'd like to buy 1 or 2 more duplexes a year, or if I find a bigger apartment complex too, purchase one of those. Our initial goal, like I said, we want to try to get 25 units, and I don't know where it goes, whether we stick with the duplexes or we buy a bigger apartment. And part of my reason behind that, so I keep going back and forth. You have investors that are multifamily only, and then you have investors that are duplex or single family duplexes, and then people that either buy and hold or flip. And so in our area, for me, I could buy 2 duplexes cheaper than I could buy a 4-plex and cash flow more than 2 duplexes. So I keep going back and forth. I'm it's kind of hard for me to be buying a 4-family when I could buy 2 duplexes for $50,000 less than I could buy 1 4-family and cash flow more. So right now, the whole duplex thing's working. I'm getting great deals. So that's kind of why I say if I could buy 1 to 2 duplexes a year, that'd be, I think we'd be in really good shape here. We continue on with that. And as we get more cash flow in, probably roll it over into a bigger apartment complex is kind of the longer goal.
Nice. I agree with that strategy too, because I think I see a lot of people who want to buy bigger buildings just to buy bigger buildings without looking at the numbers. And a lot of people ask me why I buy single family homes instead of duplexes. And it's so specific to markets what you can get. In Colorado, you can make more money on single family homes. So in many cases, even a duplex, a 4-plex, just because cap rates here are 5% on duplexes. The duplexes you're talking about, the one that rents for $1,450, that would probably sell here for $170,000, no problem.
Yeah, wow.
Maybe more. And there's no shortage of investors lining up to buy those. And to me, I'm just that doesn't make any sense to me. So, but very specific. Yep. So part of you wants to get bigger and get bigger units, but at the same time, you got to think, well, does it really make sense? Does it cash flow better? Is it going to be more of a pain to get all that down payment and partner with people? So no, I like the way you're thinking.
Yeah, very cool. I'm just kind of doing what's working right now, and if it comes to a point where I decide to go with a bigger apartment, then we will. But right now, it makes sense with the market here that single family or duplexes seem to be pretty hot. So we're just going to kind of stick with that for now.
Cool. No, that sounds good to me. Well, Corey, do you have any questions or anything else you want to talk on here as we come to the end?
No, not really. I just want to thank you, and thank you for, putting out all the content you do. I've learned a lot just from listening to your podcasts and, your blog. You have a lot of great content there. So, I mean, that's kind of where I learned a lot of everything, just through you, and did like another podcast to listen to. And I think just becoming a book of knowledge and always learning, that'd be my best advice for anybody who are, looking to get started in real estate or anything for that matter. And just take everything in you can and learn from people that are doing it. Yes, I just want to thank you, and hats off to you for putting this together and all that content you have out. So thank you.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. And I think one lesson too people can learn from your situation is when you first got started, you kind of jumped in and bought something without really knowing everything. And it wasn't the end of the world. Even though you bought at the top of the market and it wasn't the best investment, it still worked out just fine. I'm sure you learned a ton and you just kept progressing. So,
yep.
Sometimes you just have to jump in and do it. And even if it isn't the perfect investment, it still gets you started and gets you moving in the right direction.
Yeah. That's key. And I think staying just committed in general. A lot of people, like, they're all hyped up and they want to do something, but nobody ever sits in it for the long haul. If you can make it past there and just stay committed and doing something, whether it's daily, little things each and every day, just so you even learn. You don't even have to buy anything, but learning every day. I mean, you'll be further ahead of the game than everybody else if you just stay committed with it. I think that's huge.
No, that's great advice. And speaking of that, I'm sure that helps as far as fitness and different things. And please tell everybody, if they want to get a hold of you, if they want to follow you on Facebook, what's the best way to contact you?
Yeah, I am on Facebook. I do have 2 little blog websites that I'm working on right now. So one is corebodyfitness.com and the other one improvinglivesdaily.com. I do have 2 YouTube channels there. So I do put some fitness and, nutritional tips out there, as well as more like an Improving Lives Daily website and my YouTube channel for that. It's just more inspirational, business building, sales training, just something that can better your life, really the whole premises behind that. So I'm working on getting all that going as well. So, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, it's Corey, PAS is my handle there for that. So yeah.
Awesome. No, thank you for sharing that. And like I said, I've seen a lot of your posts and different stuff, and it's impressive stuff. So
yeah, no, I thank you. So yeah.
Cool. Well, Corey, thank you so much for being on the show. I really enjoyed talking about your investing, how you've progressed, and kind of seeing what your plans are and goals are for the future. Congratulations on getting through a career switch, a divorce, living at home with your parents. That was quite a transition. And yeah. Hopefully we can keep in touch, and maybe we'll check back and see how you're doing in the future.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you, Mark. I appreciate that. And look forward to following you some more and keeping you updated. So thank you.
All right. Nope. Thank you. And have a great rest of the week.
All right. You as well. Take care.
All right. Bye.